This is a broad question about a personal problem. I grew up in a conservative family and was raised with traditional values. I have done all I can to live up to traditional masculine values with some success, being in the military and in a masculine civilian industry. The hardest part is that it often feels like I am doing this for someone else, and it is painful every day. I am nearly 30, married with a child. In the last year, I have realized that what I have been experiencing all my life is gender dysphoria. I battle it every day, and it has a significant impact on my mental health, bad enough that I need to do something about it. I have personal reasons why this is hard for me, including my direct family, and many societal issues as well. My whole life I have wanted to fit in and be accepted. I have done that with great success, but I fear I will need to make decisions that will take me out of that bubble. I worry I will lose everything over this. If this post seems jumbled, it is because of how I feel, and I apologize. Honestly, what are some thoughts about what people in my position should do? I am not committed to any particular course of action. I am committed to the love of my life, and I am worried I might lose her and everyone else in my life. The thought comes to mind, why does everyone have to be so critical or hateful? I know some people who struggle with the same issues as me are basically asking for it by confronting others openly, but if a grown adult decides to transition and is not asking for special treatment, more so avoiding attention altogether, why do they still receive hate? I honestly do not know what I hope to get from this or why I chose this community to post to. I guess I am just venting. Story 1. True tolerance means accepting things that bother you. Only accepting things you agree with is not tolerance. That is why it is hard. Story 2. I know some people who struggle with the same things as me are basically asking for it by shoving it in others' faces, but if a grown adult decides to transition and is not asking for special treatment, more so avoiding attention altogether, why do they still get hate thrown their way? Because if that person transitions, even if they are not asking for special treatment, they are still asking for the support of those around them. They will want their new name and pronouns used. They will still want to be involved in gatherings and to have the relationships and friendships that knew them before they began to transition. In other words, it is not merely asking for tolerance, but acceptance. Tolerance is easy because it allows people to simply ignore something while holding on to their negative feelings about it. Acceptance is far more challenging because it requires people to confront and discard their negative feelings, adopting a new view that may clash with their worldview. We cannot control how other people will react. We can only control what we ourselves are willing to endure and expose ourselves to. Your decision to transition will likely come with some lost relationships, so you will ultimately have to decide what is most important to you: the person you want to be, or the people who cannot accept that version of you. Story 3. I do not understand what you mean when you say you are experiencing gender dysphoria. That could mean different things to different people. What does it mean to you? Do you dislike having a penis and want it removed? Do you feel comfortable wearing purses and a dress? Do you feel strange because you do not menstruate? What exactly are we talking about here? Story 4. Because intolerance and tribalism are easier than thinking critically. People are inherently selfish and self-centered. There are also 300,000 years of evolution in which it was advantageous to identify things different from you and attack or isolate those things because they could be dangerous. But mostly, it is the self-centered aspect. Story 5. This is above my pay grade as a certified cisgender heterosexual, but there are many subreddits that can provide more support, such as r/transgender and r/male to female. You are far from alone, and there are many ways forward, my friend. Story 6. I don't fully know. I can't pretend to understand what gender dysphoria feels like or how it took so long to come to the realization. Maybe many men see being a man as sacrifice, and wanting to transition makes that sacrifice seem pointless. Like quitting, giving up, shirking responsibility, or changing teams. Like I said, I just can't comprehend that feeling, so it's strange and makes them uncertain and uncomfortable. People lash out at what causes them discomfort. Story 7. Small steps. Accept little things about yourself first. It sounds like you might not have a close support system to help. We are not living in the best times for these decisions in your life either, so be careful and stay safe. I do not have much else to say, but best of luck while you get things sorted out. Story 8. It always blows my mind how people who claim to be tolerant shout down free speech. Doesn't tolerance go both ways? Story 9. I would suggest looking for and asking for acceptance. I have always viewed tolerance as a harmful way of forcing yourself to deal with stagnant, inflexible people. Story 10. Okay. Disclaimers. I am cisgender. I am a man. I was raised in an incredibly accepting environment. I am bisexual. I do not entirely fit into a perfectly traditionally masculine image, but plenty of people would never tell. I am not the most qualified to answer this question. I don't know your circumstances, and I don't know what is right in your situation. It wasn't until I came out as bisexual that several of my friends felt comfortable coming out as pansexual or would have sex with a man but is entirely uninterested in labels. I honestly thought they were accepting but straight. Look, my spontaneous thought is to express some queerness just a little. Maybe just wear clear nail polish, or wear a shirt with actual color instead of the drab colors of most men's clothing, or a ring. And for the love of whatever you deem holy or unholy, communicate with your significant other. I don't know their position on anything. You mentioned in a previous post that they walk on eggshells around you. What is better? That they walk on eggshells or that the two of you have a proper discussion? Maybe you don't need to dump it all on them at once, but at least broach the discussion that you may not be perfectly straight or feel a deep need to explore more of your identity, that it's not their fault but your own internal turmoil. Do you want them to feel guilty for what is ultimately something internal to you and not their fault? As a final disclaimer, look, I'm some random 29-year-old probably from the other side of the world who does not understand what it's like to be you. Make what you will of the above. I might be completely wrong. Story 11. Destroying your body and life for a dream that can never be realized is tragic. You will always be a man. You will always have Y chromosomes in every cell of your body. You will never give birth. I am sorry that you are struggling with the way you are made, but you have to accept who you truly are. That does not mean giving in to your intrusive thoughts. Story 12. Have you tried talking to a therapist or specialist? Transitioning is not always the answer. Some people may see it as special treatment since you will still genetically be a man asking to be seen as a woman. Not everyone will agree. You must realize that we all belong here regardless of how we look, feel, or what others tell us. Yes, you are an adult late in life making a decision, but it is no longer a solo decision since you have a family. They depend on you. You may lose your wife over this, which is a very real possibility. Is that worth it to you? I cannot imagine the hardship you are facing. Please know that you are already a beautiful human the way that you are. This dysphoria can be caused by low testosterone, past trauma from childhood, or diet choices. I would start small, research thoroughly, talk to professionals, and talk to the love of your life about it before doing anything permanent. I wish you well. Story 13. Everyone feels a need to fit into society to some degree. It does not matter who you are. You can act like any gender you want, but not everyone in society will react to or treat you like the opposite gender just because you want that, because quite frankly, you are not that gender. As long as you do not need to be accepted as the opposite gender by everyone you meet, it should not matter. Story 14. I guess you have to decide whether you want to seek help to maintain the life or existence you currently have, or whether you want to seek help to change it as you see fit. Edit. And ignore the naysayers of either decision. Story 15. Everyone is hateful about everything. It is human nature, unfortunately. There is a reason Christianity was such a controversial movement. Its primary message was simply to not judge your neighbors and forgive them for their sins. Turns out that is really easy to preach and really hard to live by. Christians judge as much as anyone. That sword cuts both ways, by the way. You talk about risking losing the love of your life. She, I assume, loves you as you are now. If you decide to reinvent yourself, you may find that she does not love that version of you. That does not make her wrong or bigoted or whatever, and it does not make you wrong either. Tolerance should be expected, but you cannot force someone to love something. Story 16. You have a family and children. Depending on their ages, the only answer is to accept responsibility and stop being self-centered. Be the father and husband you committed to being. You made a promise to them. If they are older, the approach is different. Have you talked to your doctor about these feelings? You might have a thyroid issue or something physical. If this is a new and sudden desire, it is probably related to your health, and you might be ill. As another said, tolerance implies limits. It is important to seek advice from qualified and rational professionals. Story 17. You should post in the transgender group if you are comfortable with transitioning topics. I think tolerance is difficult because it relates to oneself. I have become more spiritual and realized that many things are mirrors reflecting who we are. Most people project something onto others because they do not want to face it themselves. When someone is intolerant, it is most likely coming from something they do not know how to respond to within themselves. Story 18. This is just my opinion and is directed toward the question of tolerance, not your specific issue. I think the very loud, very aggressive part of any given ideology or personal group makes people hate the entire group. If you have people shoving something down your throat for a year when you really did not care, now you just want them gone. The other point is that most people do not want tolerance. They want acceptance. There is a big difference. Tolerance is ignoring you and being indifferent. Almost everyone you encounter will be completely indifferent toward your situation, regardless of what it is. Acceptance is the difficult part and only relates to people near you. Everyone is the main character in their own story, and most people's story does not involve you until you require them to. Be tolerant of others, and they will be tolerant of you. Demand acceptance from others, and you will have a much harder time. Story 19. I don't know if I should leave something here, but I couldn't help but look at your other posts. I'll just say this. You remind me of my husband. Granted, I think he's gotten over his issues, but I still worry in the back of my mind that he could change his mind. Tolerance isn't something that comes easily, considering the way we grew up and how our own experiences in life shape, if not further cement, our views. But that doesn't mean it can't change, it just takes a tremendous amount of effort to do so, and normally that gets easier once you experience it yourself: bigotry, being homeless, your mental health being ignored, and so on. We're afraid of acknowledging the ugly parts of ourselves, and that's normal. This is probably why you've been so adamant about trying to repel thoughts and feelings about being transgender. But with that in mind, you have to make a decision. Do you finally accept that part of yourself and move on to heal, or are you going to keep fighting against this for the rest of your life? Choices aren't easy, especially when they involve other people. You might make the right one or the wrong one, who knows, but personally, I was in your wife's shoes for a while. Granted, it wasn't solidified yet, but I was dating my husband for years, and I can say it's going to hurt her either way. It's better to break it off and let her move on than have her stay, lying to herself that you're all right. That's not fair to you and especially not fair to her. I implore you to put yourself in her shoes and understand. It truly sounds like she loves you, and if you love her, you have to stop hurting her and possibly your child in the long run too. Story 20. Fatigue, plain and simple. Not many people have solid friends who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, or at least regular sincere interactions with people who are like that. If not, it is the bad faith interactions that might come from a vocal minority of one group, but mostly it is the lack of understanding in general. You have to think exactly the same as the people who might hear or see whatever you say on certain subjects, even if what you say is far from bigoted. I am fully open to being supportive and understanding, no question. But even with other cisgender heterosexual men, my patience with being pushed away or dealing with their depression, insecurity, and so on is limited these days unless they are actively working on themselves. Some of my girlfriend's friends are lesbians, and they never made me feel like I had to jump through hoops for their friendship. So it is easy to say that would be the same for anyone else I meet. Some people just want to twist our or your arm because you do not jump through every hoop for their specific situation and want you to read their mind. Just saying, someone who did not want things to be better would not say something like I have said here. There is not much more I could say. It is just not healthy to make someone deal with a catch-22 with something that does not have to be as difficult as they want to make it out to be. Story 21. All I may be able to help with sounds like the least important part of your post. In a pretty masculine civilian industry, the hardest part is that it often feels like I'm doing this for someone else, and it's painful every day. I was with you in this part of your life. I drove a semi-truck just long enough to get my own operating authority and became self-employed. The best decision I ever made. You are right, you are doing it for someone else. Think about it. You must make them much more money than what they are paying you, or else there is no reason to employ you. So why not work for yourself? The gender stuff I am about as useful as a concrete parachute. I am a man. I love being a man, and I could never imagine a life any other way. But I wish you all the best in fighting those demons and wish the best for you. I would think about it long and hard before I said much to my wife and try to put yourself in her shoes. It sounds like you are now, years after the wedding, wanting a completely different family dynamic than what she signed up for. Best of luck. Story 22. Best advice I can give is find your community. Unfortunately, this group is unlikely to be it. There will be people here ready to support you, but there are many others, as proven by some comments, that really are not. You are not the first person to have gone through this, nor sadly will you be the last. You are in a period of self-discovery. You are better off finding a group that allows that rather than demands acquiescence to certain norms. Personally, tolerance does not cut the mustard. If someone said, "I tolerate you," it is an insult. Like my existence needs to be tolerated. I would sooner have acceptance, as should most of us. For example, I do not tolerate gay people. I accept them. Just as I do not tolerate homophobes, I reject them. It is worth looking up the paradox of tolerance as well. Story 23. Please try to explain how biological sex dictates how men and women interact. 0.00018 times approximately 8 billion equals approximately 1.5 million people. And that is just chromosomal intersex, not transgender. Transgender people are estimated to be between 0.6% and 1.5%. Let us call it 1%. 0.01 times approximately 8 billion equals approximately 80 million people who are transgender. That seems like a lot of people you do not want to recognize as who they really are but who you want to see them as. Story 24. Tolerance is the bare minimum. I don't try to set the bar there. I set it for acceptance. You might not agree with me or my life decisions, but you should accept me for who I am. I'm not intentionally harming others, so it's not a toxic behavior I'm promoting. I say this even though I have disowned family members. If I wouldn't accept a friend acting the same way, why would I allow a family member to do it? Recently, I have disowned my mother, not because she still supports and defends Donald J. Trump, but it made me realize that she is a horrible person on the inside. All the shady things she has done in her life and claims to be saved by God to avoid accountability. Story 25. Do you think you should be female? Or do you wish you could simply express your more feminine qualities more often? To be honest, everyone has both masculine and feminine qualities. Most just tend to hide the parts that do not match societal norms for their gender. There is a difference between wanting a different body and wanting to be a fully functioning human who has a full spectrum of emotions, wants, needs, and interests. Story 26. I am paraphrasing the advice given to me about coming out with the language you have used. If you have the financial backing to do so. Point 1. If you are afraid of losing everything because you are being more authentic, maybe you never had it in the first place. Point 2. Change does not have to happen overnight. If you are scared to do something, do it scared. Point 3. You are loved. Story 27. How did you find out last year that this was a thing? You are 30, your entire social circle has known you for a lifetime, and now you are changing it up on them based on this discovery last year. I think many are concerned about the source of that discovery. The way you describe it sounds like someone who has an enlightenment into a religious cult. The people in your life are likely abruptly startled by the sudden change and worried about you. Story 28. People have a hard time with change, and what you are asking them to accept might be beyond some people's control. I grew up my whole life thinking Pluto was a planet. No matter what scientists say, I will probably die still believing that Pluto is a planet. That is how some people feel about the whole gender identity discussion. I am not saying it is right or wrong, not defending either side, just sharing my opinion on why this type of tolerance is hard. In a generation or two, no one will care because they will grow up in a world that teaches them differently. Look at civil rights and women's rights. They were official on paper a long time ago, but the real change took much longer. The change is already happening, and there is no stopping it. It is just that one side wants the journey to be finished immediately. That is not how social change happens. Story 29. My daughter came out as transgender in her late 30s. We love and accept her unconditionally. Her father left the ministry because the church preached against it. The only thing I would suggest is that you go to counseling, not to change your mind, but to help you be happy with yourself regardless of gender. Sending big mama bear hugs. Story 30. Tolerance is a value some cultures and individuals appreciate and others do not. You can actively choose to act with tolerance or not. Story 31. Some people use a small part of something out of context to support their argument and justify their own bigotry. Sometimes that bigotry is learned as they try to fit in. Other times it is a reflection of themselves. As a Christian, I can say that those who use the Bible to justify their actions are using it wrongly. I do not know what country you are in, but I hope it is not the United States, as the administration is distracting the public from what they are doing by weaponizing hate. Counseling would help. I have known a few transgender people in my life, and they have all been mostly nice individuals. One was a very messy roommate leaving tissues everywhere, but aside from that, okay. I also have an acquaintance who is married with a child and transitioned after marriage. They remain together. A former coworker's stepfather transitioned, and his mother stayed with her. It is not a guarantee, but it is possible to stay together. Neither path is perfect, but if people do not accept you for who you are when you show them the real you, it is their loss. It is better for you to be who you are than to hide yourself for the sake of others. Story 32. You hit on a major point. You want it to feel normal. Normal is tolerated by all. If all you have is normal, then not normal feels like a threat. When nothing makes you stand out, what you are not becomes what defines you. It is why people resist language like cisgender, even though they do not have another word for it. They just want to be normal. But the world is better with variety and difference. It is more peaceful and beautiful to be defined by what you are than by what you are not. Communities defined by who they exclude will reject you. Inclusive communities are much more fun. So seriously, friend, congratulations. There will be some bumps and struggles along the way, but you will be happier being true to yourself than trying to be what others want you to be. You will find your community. I have 2 transgender children, and their friend groups are wonderful and supportive. The world is cruel to different people in many places right now, but historically, bigots always end up the villains. Work toward that future. Story 33. People fear things that they do not understand. Change is hard, and so is realizing that you may not have known a person as well as you thought you did. It can spiral into many what-ifs for many people, so it is easier for them to just shut it down and refuse to confront it completely. Story 34. I think I can speak to this. For one, it's hard for people to see you outside of the role you've embraced. It's not just that you're a man, or at least male in terms of sex, but also that you've sought to support that identity, which is not abnormal. I have a coworker who is an ex-Marine, and they were known as Beard as a nickname because of the extra long beard they wore. Well, it turned out he was she, and she was dying inside living life as a male. She couldn't make the change until she was about 32 years after the Marines, years into her new career. But she would go to her car to change before and after work every day, trying to manage a double life in order to maintain pretense. It was killing her, and she knew it, so she finally gave in and made the full change. It has been difficult, no doubt, but she is so much happier now, living as her authentic self. Took some fight, even at work. It's hard for people to understand and adapt to, but it is certainly possible. The people who truly love you will come around. They will need time and grace, no doubt, so don't discount them. Think about how long it took you to understand and come to terms with it. The people around you should be given at least a fraction of that. And those who only have hate or negativity to offer can leave. They don't have to live your life. You do. So live it. You only get one shot at this world. Use it. Story 35. Well, we can start with the fact that if you have gender dysphoria, it is a mental condition. It is not like having a different skin color or something else. It is hopefully something that can be treated. It is neither tolerance nor intolerance. Story 36. Perspective. From their point of view, you are diving into a delusion associated with a high incidence of suicide and related problems such as sterility and mutilation. When people see it that way, they want you to stop for your own good. It is not hate. Realistically, framing it as hate is disingenuous, but it serves to perpetuate activism. They would not react differently if you told them you were a glass of orange juice or a mosquito. How is your wife taking it? The odds are high that you have another mental illness and are falling into what is currently popular as a false solution. It would do less damage to address the real problem. Remember, this is the same field that previously performed lobotomies and later used electroconvulsive therapy. Since you probably will not listen, if you proceed, consider relocating to an urban area that strongly supports this. Somewhere like Berlin, pull up stakes and go. You might be entering at the tail end of the cycle, so for a better outcome, you want to be among people who share the same views. You will never be able to force acceptance for this course of action. If you move forward, your old life is gone. Think carefully about what you want. Consider staying off the internet for a couple of weeks while you work it out. Your entire life could be at stake. Story 37. As a pansexual man, I've wondered this. Why are straight men homophobic? Logically, they should appreciate gay men because many are very attractive, and their orientation reduces competition among straight men. Then I realized that homophobia is often a result of ignorance. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.